That is some good homemade cold brew. Let me get my train of thought going. It's been a while since I made a YouTube video. I'm kind of rusty, to be honest. And when I say like made a video where I stand in front of the camera is what I mean. I meant to make videos on the Steam Deck, and I was also meant to receive it originally in February. I made a lot of videos in January on different gaming topics and kind of wore myself out, and then everything just got really boring and stale, so I just started playing Elden Ring. Uh-oh. Wait. Yeah, we're going to talk about the... Oops. This is a Steam Deck channel. We'll be talking about the Steam Deck. Just give me a second. It's not what it looks like, okay? When the Steam Deck turned 1 year old, a lot of reviewers covered the product and did a 1 year review on the actual product. I did not get the Steam Deck as soon as it came out because they sent it in waves. I was Q2. I ended up getting mine in April of 2022. But I actually got mine at the end of April last year, which means I've just had it a little over a year now this week. Turned 1 year old on the 28th, I think, and I want to talk about what the year has been like. Also, if you enjoy any part of this video and enjoy Steam Deck content and gaming content in general, consider subscribing. I'm almost at 6,000 subs. I hope to hit that by the end of this month, by the end of May. I think we could do it. We're not that far away. Let's get this. So I'll be talking about the good, the bad, the future, and my favorite games, and also things I haven't done on the system that I look forward to doing or just might never do. So I think we should just get the bad out of the way. Let's just talk about what's kind of sucked, and we'll go from there. Let's end it on a good note. I don't want to say a bunch of great things and then just like start going downhill. Let's start with the bad. So the worst thing that has happened to me in the year that I've had this system is that my first Steam Deck, yes, this is my second Steam Deck, and it's only been a year and a week or something. But yes, I've had two systems, and the first one I had, the battery went bad. It would not stay alive off the charger. It would just go from 100% all the way to 0 in the span of like 10 minutes. The first unit lasted about 8 months, and then I started to realize whenever I was off the charger that it was dying super fast. I could leave it plugged in and play that way, but that's obviously not convenient and not how it's supposed to work anyway. So I contacted Steam, and this will kind of fit into the good side of things. Their customer service was great. They got to me very quickly. I explained to them what was wrong with my unit. They looked up the serial number. They sent me an email with instructions on how to return it. And then I sent this thing back, or the first one back, and they sent me this one. It was not a complicated process. Everything worked out the way it was supposed to, and I'm happy that it did. The only thing that sucked about that was that there was a gap in my content, and it was very demotivating because I like to cover the Steam Deck on the channel, and I couldn't really do much in that time. Couldn't do any gameplays, couldn't cover the product. All I could do was talk about what was wrong with it and wait till it was fixed. That was kind of a bummer, but I bounced back as soon as I got my other unit back. But yeah, just the fact that it got messed up after 8 months was definitely a downside to my 1 year experience with this thing. But my next thing on the list is that the battery life is too short. Yeah, especially when it was broken and it only lasted a few minutes off the charger. Those that watch me will probably notice that I play demanding games. I play games that I would play on my PC or my PlayStation on the Steam Deck. I play AAA titles, I play graphically demanding titles, and of course, this is going to result in lower battery life. When it comes to indie games or old games or, things like that, sure, the battery life might last a little longer, but in my experience, I've hardly even played games like that. Maybe Valheim for 20 minutes, and I didn't realize the dent it made in my battery life. I can't really say what battery life is like for lower or less demanding titles because I've mainly played AAA games, and that's how I've used my Steam Deck, to take the PC AAA experiences away from my desk. That's kind of how I view this thing. That's how I've used it. That's how I enjoy it the most. Others will use this as an emulation device, as a retro arcade, an indie arcade. That's not what I've used my Steam Deck for. Because of how I use it and the games that I play on it, obviously battery life is not going to be the best. Playing pretty much any AAA title, Call of Duty or an open world game like Hogwarts or Spider-Man or something, I'd say the maximum I will get is around 2 hours, and for me that is decent. It's not going to be decent if you're traveling with this thing and it just dies in 2 hours. I also don't think I should be playing super demanding titles when I'm away, because I know the battery life is not going to last 2 hours, and anything that's less demanding than a AAA game will last you way longer than that. Next, I want to address download speeds. Whether I'm using a dock with an Ethernet port on it or just downloading wirelessly, it's just not the fastest. Mind you, I do have to use a power line adapter when I use the dock, so I haven't really done that too much. I just mostly download wirelessly. Most of the time, if not every time, I download my games overnight because they take super long to download. It's ridiculous. Jedi Survivor is like 130 gigs, and that took probably a whole night, part of a day. It was a very long download, all to find out the game won't get past the title screen and into the main menu when I open the game. So that's pretty sucky. I'll put that in the list of bad. In the whole year that I've played all of these games and showed them on the channel and just played off of the camera, Jedi Survivor is the only title in this year that I have not been able to get working. I've said this in other videos. I've been able to play it on the Steam Deck via streaming. Like, I can stream my PC to the Steam Deck, and that actually works really well, which we'll throw that into the positive sector of things you can do on this thing, or things that I've done on this thing. I'm normally not a fan of cloud gaming or streaming the games to another device, but streaming from my PC to the Steam Deck is a pretty much flawless experience. It's not consistent. Like, sometimes, I guess it depends on the day with the internet connection that day, or how many people are using the internet. But for the most part, when it's working the way it's supposed to work, it works great. Like, no latency, input lag, it works really good. But natively, or people are gonna cook me if I say natively because I run my system on Windows. But when I say natively, I mean with the game not being streamed and running on the actual hardware. I've seen people use it on SteamOS, and it seems to work that way with some tweaks. But on Windows, I'm not able to get this thing going just yet. Hopefully with updates in time, eventually we'll be able to open it and play it correctly. But for right now, that's kind of like a huge letdown, because the reason I buy my games on Steam or on PC now is mainly because of the Steam Deck. I get it because I have a desktop PC and I can play it that way at a nicer, graphical level, performance level, but then I want to step away and use my Steam Deck. But for this game, I couldn't do that, so I almost regret getting it on PC when I could have just got it on PS5 and had a better experience. Nonetheless, I'm almost done with the game, and I've enjoyed streaming it to the Steam Deck and playing it on my PC overall. But yeah, downloads are slow, and some games might not work, but for the most part, my games have worked, and I've been able to play pretty much anything that I've wanted to play this far, except for Jedi Survivor. Next, I want to talk about the fans. I'm going to put this down as a negative just because the fans are extremely loud, and especially after hearing and seeing that the ROG Ally will have quiet fans, I'm definitely going to mark this down as a negative on the Steam Deck side of things, especially in my experience, because I play demanding games that require that fan to spin up, which is fine, and I've gotten past that. I actually don't sit there and argue with the fan or complain about the fan when I'm playing, but looking back and overall, the fans are loud. Sometimes when the system's idle, you'll hear the fans. Other than that, I don't really have too many other negatives to really talk about at the moment. I'm sure there's some other ones that I didn't put on this list or that I can't think of in the moment, just because it's mostly positive things that I have to say about this system anyway. There's quite a bit to cover here, but I'm going to go down my list, and if I have to stop and explain anything, I will. I have the 64GB base model Steam Deck, and that is a good thing. This is a positive. This thing is only $399. Spending less is obviously always a positive. Now, I do have a 1TB SD card in here, and that adds to the price, so the overall price and spending of this thing. But even then, the way you get into this market right now is $399. That's not bad at all. Knowing I only spent that much for the amount of playtime I've put into this thing makes me happy. Next, I want to talk about comfortability, because I think that's a huge one. This thing looks bulky and weird, and if you haven't held it in your hands, then it probably looks uncomfortable, but it's the contrary. It's the total opposite. It's actually super comfortable. Your hands land exactly where they're supposed to be. Even the weird D-pad button thumbstick layout next to each other at the top It seems weird, but it works and it's comfortable and I love it. I've gotten used to it. I've been able to play any game this way, and switching between this and a controller is like, it's muscle memory, and I'm just used to it. It's comfortable, it's ergonomic, it's nice. The extra buttons are a huge plus that I found, and I didn't think I was going to be using them as much at first or even before I got this thing, but after having it for so long, I've just learned to appreciate the back buttons and the trackpads, especially because I run this on Windows. Touchscreen is an option. The sticks are an option for your cursor, but the best way to navigate the desktop are definitely with the trackpads. Love these things and they're super useful. Speaking of controllers, when it comes to controllers, I've pretty much been able to use any controller that I own on the Steam Deck, including Joy-Cons, the PS5 Edge controller, anything. I've just been able to use every controller that I own, wirelessly, wired, doesn't matter. This thing works with pretty much any controller that can connect to any other device that you own, which is great because I already had a lot of these controllers. And speaking of already had, one of the greatest things about the Steam Deck that I found were that once I got it, I already had so many games for it because I already have a PC. Just like that, my Steam library was completely accessible and playable on the Steam Deck, which makes things a whole lot different from getting a brand new system, a PS5 or an Xbox, and having to start from scratch and sort of building that game library back up. But with the Steam Deck, definitely going in as one of the positives, just the already established library that you're going to have, or that I had, was amazing to walk into because I'm just like, okay, I don't have to buy anything. I just have to wait on the slow downloads and I can start playing my games on the Steam Deck, which in itself is an entirely different experience from playing on your desktop PC. So there are people that probably travel with this thing, ride the train, take Ubers and sit and play this thing in the back seat, or in different ways they take this thing somewhere. In my case, the way I found myself to use this device the most was to really just use it to step away from my desk. Sure, on YouTube and on all of these videos that I show playing whatever games I'm showing, I'm sitting at my desk, but that's only because I need a camera angle, I need lighting, and I need a setup to actually show this thing being used and played and how it works, and just enjoying myself in that moment. When the cameras are off, I'm obviously taking this thing away from the desk. I'm gonna go out to the living room or to the porch or outside, or to just lay in bed and play this thing all bundled up, or whatever the case may be. But in my personal experience, I'm not mostly traveling with this thing. I'm not taking it everywhere. I have taken it out, obviously, but that is not the main way I use this thing. On my list, I called this lazy gaming away from desk, which is literally what it is. With that said, I'd like to talk about what it was like to travel with this thing. I believe there's been 2 trips I've taken over the past year where I actually traveled with my Steam Deck, and being at the airport and everything, going through security, all that stuff was obviously perfectly fine. There was no issues actually taking this to the airport. I know I had a little bit of a doubt where like, they're gonna check me, or they're gonna take it away from me. Everything was actually just perfectly fine. Security just asked you to take your electronics out of your bag, and that was pretty much it. You can take your Steam Deck on an airplane. Confirmed. Waiting for the airplane, I actually used this thing plugged in for a little bit, connected to the airport Wi-Fi. I can play some of the games I've downloaded on Steam offline, such as Spider-Man or Hogwarts. You can play those games offline. But if you're talking about other launchers and things, such as Xbox Game Pass, which requires you to sign in, then you can't play those games. I don't know if Epic Games lets you play offline. I think it doesn't, but I don't want to say anything for sure because I don't remember, and I didn't play any Epic games while I was on my trip or anything. I literally just stuck to my offline Steam games, and those worked perfectly fine. I was playing Spider-Man on the airplane, and it was great. Single player games are going to be fine as long as they don't make you sign in to some sort of server. Call of Duty wouldn't work, for example, because you have to sign in through their servers to even get past the title screen, even if you want to play story mode. Somebody on one of my airplane rides actually wanted to watch me play Spider-Man and realized my Steam Deck was dead. He whipped out his laptop and let me charge my system with his laptop just so that he could see what this thing was about. So that was awesome. The real fun and realization that I had brought my entire PC with me hit me once I got to where I was going. I was sitting there at my parents' house, and I was like, I actually have all of my games with me. I didn't have to like skip out on running some Destiny strikes or not play a part of a story game because I had the game with me, and whenever I wasn't doing anything, I could pull this thing out and just play, and I could even connect with whatever my brother was playing or whatever my friends were playing at the time, even while I was away from my actual setup. So that was awesome, and that was really the realization of, wow, I just brought my PC with me and I'm still keeping up with whatever's going on in all of my games. Traveling with the Steam Deck can be cool. That's a fact. Moving on from traveling, as a positive, I'm just gonna say AAA experiences and the fact that they work on here are my favorite thing about the Steam Deck. It's just, there's no way to not think that's awesome. Whether you're playing this thing docked on a monitor or a TV or just using the handheld itself, it's just a versatile gaming experience. Like, you can use this in different ways. The ways in which you interact with the system are not offered by its competitors, like the Switch, which can do a little bit of versatility but cannot get you that high-end gaming experience. The PlayStation, you can remote play it to your phone or even to the Steam Deck. There's no handheld that gives you the same amount of power as the PS5. Like, it's just different, and this thing kind of does it all, and it does it well. So it's very versatile. It's very cool for that reason. Moving over to another positive, but kind of a different reason and a very personal reason, is the growth on YouTube and what the Steam Deck has done for me as far as making content and all that stuff. So obviously, because of this thing, I've found a niche where I feel like I can connect and share and be a part of a community that didn't even exist before. And being there at the beginning is awesome to me, and I'm very happy that I'm here. I find joy in just picking this thing up and creating videos for it. It's the biggest reason, the biggest personal reason for me, like, playing on this thing, is to engage and connect and grow on the platform. I've covered other devices and products and played different games and tried other forms of content up until the Steam Deck came out. But this has been something that has stuck with me and has just made me want to create more content on it and just grow and engage with a niche that is still going up and will continue to grow and be something very big in the future. I have a very busy week, and I still make time almost every single week to put something out there and share and be a part of the community. Moving on to Windows. A lot of people use their Steam Deck as a SteamOS only device. Some people dual boot. I chose to only use Windows 11, and the reason for that is pretty simple. I'm not going to go super in depth. I'm not going to argue with the Linux users. I have 4 bullet points over here, and I'm going to go through them, maybe 5. Call of Duty, Destiny, a familiar user experience because I run my actual desktop PC on Windows 10, and I'm not a huge tinkerer. I don't need to program or change so many things, which is a plus on the Linux side of things. They can alter their OS and tamper and tinker and do whatever they want with it. I'm not that kind of person, so I don't really look at that and say, okay, that's something I need. That's not a positive for me. For whoever's doing that, that's great that you can do it and you're enjoying it, but that's personally not my experience. And if I can't play a game that I would normally enjoy and play, then I'm going to play it where it lets me. So Call of Duty, Destiny are examples of that. They don't work or not supported or have some kind of issue running on SteamOS because of anti-cheat and things like that. So I play those games on Windows where they're allowed, because those are the games I'm going to play the most anyway. On top of that, Steam or Valve doesn't completely neglect its Windows users. They have a Steam Deck Windows resource page, which they don't need to have that. If they were completely against it, they would not have that page for you to get drivers and the things you need to run Windows on the Steam Deck. I've ran Windows on my Steam Deck since I initially got my first Steam Deck last year. I had SteamOS for maybe one day, and the next day I completely converted to Windows, and the same thing happened again when I got my current Steam Deck. After I got it replaced and all that, this one, I actually had SteamOS for one day again, and then completely converted back to Windows. For what I use my Steam Deck for and the games I play on it, Windows is more suitable, and I'm really looking forward to the ROG Ally because it runs Windows out the gate. I haven't had any serious problems with Windows, so I don't know what people are talking about or if they're still saying those things, but I've had a pretty good experience overall with Windows, and navigating and just using the system as a Windows PC has been perfectly normal and fine and fun, and it just works. Whoever's saying it's slow or that it doesn't work is just like completely capping, or they just haven't used it long enough, or they're saying that certain games don't work. That might be true. Jedi Survivor, don't forget. But for the most part, it's been a pretty solid experience all around, and I have very little complaints. Favorite games. All right, this is a pretty simple one. I've played a ton of games on here, but the ones I've actually stuck with are Call of Duty, Destiny, and Hogwarts Legacy. I think those are the games that I've put the most time into when playing on the Steam Deck, and I kept it short because those are pretty much the games that stand out to me as, wow, this is a very cool Steam Deck experience. Growing up, I played a lot of Call of Duty. It's always been, a huge part of my gaming background, and seeing a game like Call of Duty, or especially a modern Call of Duty, running on a handheld device just blows my mind every time. And I think back to when I was playing Black Ops 1 on a big butt TV, one of those big TVs with yellow, red, and white AV cables. Like, that's what I refer to in my brain when I really think about playing Call of Duty in its prime. Going from that to this, like playing Call of Duty on here, is just like, wow. Also, Call of Duty on Steam Deck is one of my most viewed videos, and I think that's awesome. A lot of people probably can connect to, Call of Duty being a game from their childhood, and seeing it run on such a small device is insane, especially when it's a modern AAA Call of Duty, not the mobile one. The mobile one works too, and it's cool that it does, but it's not the AAA experience on the go. Like Modern Warfare 2 and Warzone, working on the Steam Deck is the definitive portable Call of Duty experience. And then Destiny 2, one of the games I've played most ever. The fact that that works on here is always very stunning to me. Like, I did an entire raid on the Steam Deck, and to me that just like blows my mind. Just being able to play that game in a handheld form factor is awesome, and these games are running at smooth frame rates and good performance. That's what makes it stand out so much. That's what makes it so cool. It's not like you're getting like a super half-assed experience of that game on the go. You're getting a pretty good experience on the go. I've really enjoyed Call of Duty on this handheld, and even though the game is not in its best state all the time, and people complain about it all the time, including myself, it's still one of the coolest games that you can play, or that I've played personally, on the Steam Deck. And then I put Hogwarts Legacy on here because that is an open world monster that works really well on the Steam Deck, and I've played it more than I've played other open world games on the Steam Deck. I've played it more than Spider-Man on the Steam Deck. I'm not done with Hogwarts Legacy, and I'm actually probably going to start playing it again once I'm done with Survivor. The fact that that game also works really well on a handheld system is great, and it's one of the games I've been able to play offline and take with me. I was playing Hogwarts Legacy in a parking lot. It was like a reality check moment of what has gaming come to. I have a Steam Deck playlist on my channel where I show much more than just these 3 games, but these are the games I put on this list. But if you want to see other games, I've played plenty other games on my Steam Deck that also work really well, some better than others. I'll go ahead and throw Fortnite in there as a game that runs and plays really well, and that I've played more often than others on the Steam Deck, but it's not my favorite way to play that game because I like playing Fortnite on a mouse and keyboard, and when it's docked, you can play that way, but it's not the same as playing on my desktop PC. I feel like it doesn't translate well with me just because I play that game so much, and I just prefer to play it in a desktop environment, whereas other games that are like story games or FPS games, I can get used to and play better or just as good as I would on my desktop on the Steam Deck, and that's what makes them so enjoyable. Like on Fortnite, I feel like I'm being held back on the Steam Deck, but in Call of Duty, I don't. I feel like I could still perform and play pretty good for a handheld device. So moving on, we're going to talk about the things I have yet to try. I have 4 main things on this list. These are just things that either don't catch my eye as much, or I haven't had to do, or that I just prefer differently. So I got on here emulation. A lot of people love to talk about Steam Deck and emulation. I personally have not got into it. When it comes to emulation and things like that, I just don't like going out of my way, which is kind of the argument of console versus PC. A lot of people are not PC gamers because they want to turn their console on and just play the game. And that's kind of where I'm at with the Switch. I just want to play Mario or Zelda. I just want to turn the thing on and play it. I don't want to figure things out for it. I don't want to like tweak it. I just want to like get up and going. This Friday or next Friday, Tears of the Kingdom comes out. I'm gonna pop that cartridge in and I'm just gonna start playing. I'm not gonna tinker or figure anything out. I'm just gonna start playing. It's just my personal preference. I don't think there's anything wrong with enjoying emulation on the Steam Deck. I think it's great that it works as great as it does, or as far as I've seen people do a lot of different emulation on the Steam Deck. PS2, Nintendo, Game Boy, whatever the case may be, they've got this thing doing all kinds of things, and I think that's awesome. But me personally, I just haven't tried it. Am I closed off to trying it? Absolutely not. I will maybe get into it at some point. Who knows? For the moment and for the year that I've had this thing, I haven't had very high interest in emulation, and that's just how it's been. I've got SteamOS on this list just because I haven't really tried it. I haven't used it as much, maybe that one day, but once I saw that the games I was really going to play weren't supported, I just kind of didn't care to use it, and that's just what it is. I know there's benefits to using SteamOS. I know there's great things about it, but personally, this is me talking about my experience. I have not used it, and maybe at some point, maybe when I get the ROG Ally, I might revert my Steam Deck back to SteamOS. Who knows? But yeah, that's where I stand with that. Haven't really tried that yet. Connecting to a GPU or eGPU, I haven't done that either. I've seen videos where people are like plugging graphics cards into their Steam Deck. I haven't done anything like that. That's a little bit crazy, but it is interesting. These are things that I haven't tried, but are also interesting as well. So emulation, I know I said I just didn't care for it, but there's a part of me that is somewhat curious about it, and it stood out to me. That's something that, whoa, I really haven't done this on my system. The next thing on here is opening the system to replace anything. I haven't had to open my Steam Deck when my battery went bad. I did think about buying a new battery, but the battery was going to be like $100, so I just like sent it back for free and got a new one for free because it was under warranty. Am I scared to open it? No. If I had a good enough reason to open it, I would and will in the future. But right now, there's just not one. There's nothing that is like, oh, I need to do this. I need to change the SSD, or I need to change the thumbsticks. There's nothing like that that I've really found necessary or that I've really wanted to change. So for the time being, I have not opened my Steam Deck up. I've seen other people do it. It doesn't seem too bad. So maybe in the future I will. Moving forward, all right. This is where the video's about to come to a close, and I want to talk about what the future plans are. I did not think I was going to be this heavily invested in handheld PC gaming. It's also expensive. I'm also not a rich YouTuber that can just buy every handheld or get every handheld sent out to them. But I do want to continue to be a part of this community and get my foot through the door where I can. I believe handheld PC content, Steam Deck content will remain on the channel for the time being, and moving forward, there will be cameos of other devices and products and things that I've enjoyed, gaming related, news related, or just, whatever. I think it'll be a mix of both, but mostly still the Steam Deck in there for now. And like I said, I can't have them all, but I'm definitely thinking of getting a new handheld that we can cover on the channel. It'll be fresh, it'll be new, it'll be fun, and that is the ROG Ally. I really hope to get my hands on this thing and start building up on what I've already built with the Steam Deck curated playlist with a lot of games to check out. I'm not a benchmarker or a game reviewer or anything like that. I just like to share my game sessions with you guys. That's what this channel is. And if I talk about performance and settings and things like that, it's very specific and occasional. I like to put the fun factor and the fact that these games work in front of the technical side of things and the review side of things. I just want to have fun playing my games on a handheld system, and that's what I'll continue doing moving forward. We're just going to enjoy games and play them and share them. That's pretty much it. Whether that's on the Steam Deck, the Nintendo Switch, the ROG Ally, the PS5, the Xbox, whatever it's on, whatever I'm sharing is because that's what I'm enjoying in the moment, and that's what I'll continue to do. That's what makes content fun for me. And that was a whole lot of speaking into this microphone for this video, and I probably missed some stuff, but year in review and the year experience, or the year, I can't even talk. I've been talking so long. Ran out of coffee, but can't even end the video. I almost made it. I almost made it to the end. It's been a year. Hopefully it can be many more of enjoyable experiences and great games. That's where I'm going to leave this video at. Once again, thank you guys for being a part of it. Thank you guys for watching my videos, for sharing your opinions, your experiences. All of it is very much appreciated. I'm just happy to be here to be talking about video games. As always, I will catch you guys on the next video. Peace.